Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine you're a soccer coach trying to design that perfect training session. You want your players pushed physically, but also like sharpening their tactical brains. Or maybe you're just really curious about how physical exertion, well, directly impacts mental acuity, especially when the stakes are high. Today, we're taking a deep dive into some truly fascinating research that sheds light on exactly that, focusing on the world of soccer training. Our entire mission today is to extract the most important insights from a scientific article. It's titled, Higher Heart Rate Intensity Can Negatively Impact Tactical Decision-Making and Technical Accuracy in Small-Sided Games. A study on the effects of field size and scoring method manipulation. Phew, that's a mouthful. It was authored by Qiao and a team of brilliant researchers, including Jincheng, Dingding, Xiaolong, Chen, and Liang. You can find it in the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine, Volume 24, pages 522, 531. It was published online, I think, September 1st, 2025. Our goal is basically to give you a shortcut, to being well-informed on a topic that's relevant, not just for athletes, but really for anyone interested in that complex interplay between mind and body under pressure.
Yeah, and what's truly fascinating here, I think, is how carefully controlled variables in a training environment can reveal such profound insights into performance. This study really helps us connect the dots between physical strain and cognitive function in a very practical, almost real-world setting.
So, to kick us off, why are these small-sided games, or SSGs, why are they such a cornerstone of modern soccer training? They seem incredibly relevant because they're like mini-matches, right?
Exactly. They replicate the physical, technical, tactical, and even the psychological demands of a full game, but it's all within a controlled environment.
Wow.
And they're known to significantly boost aerobic fitness. Some studies show improvements pretty comparable to traditional endurance training.
Wow.
Plus, they promote technical skill development and, crucially, decision-making precisely because they increase things like ball contacts, passes, and those intense tactical interactions players really need. During SSGs, players typically experience what we call high psychophysiological intensities. That's essentially how their body and mind respond to intense physical demands.
Right, the mind-body connection.
Yeah, we're talking elevated heart rates, high oxygen consumption, and those burning lactate concentrations that signal your anaerobic system is really working overtime. It all leads to that familiar feeling of fatigue.
Definitely know that feeling.
Studies consistently show heart rates soaring, somewhere between 80–95% of maximum. That reflects a substantial cardiovascular load. Lactate also spikes, especially in the smaller game formats.
And that fatigue is key, isn't it? Because, despite how effective SSGs clearly are at pushing players physically, what's still largely unknown, or less understood, is how specific task constraints, like the exact size of the pitch, or maybe whether you're trying to score goals versus just keeping possession, how those things truly influence that physical strain, and, in turn, the player's technical execution and their ability to think clearly under pressure. That seems like the crucial gap this study aimed to fill.
Exactly. That's the nub of it. And this raises a really important question. How does all that physical strain actually translate into cognitive overload and potentially impaired motor skills?
Think about it like trying to do complex math right after sprinting up a hill. It's tough.
Yeah, not easy.
Fatigue can reduce motor control. It leads to less accurate passes, maybe poor ball control, and even diminished shooting accuracy. And those rapid increases in intensity, combined with intermittent recovery periods, they can also impair cognitive function. That reduces a player's ability to make optimal tactical decisions.
So it hits both the body and the brain.
Precisely. The combination of physical fatigue and cognitive overload in these high-intensity SSG scenarios can really limit both technical performance and those well-thought-out tactical movements.
And that's exactly what this study aimed to investigate then. How manipulating the 3v3 format across 3 different field sizes, what were they, 75, 100, and 125 square meters per player.
That's right, those 3 sizes.
And also 2 scoring methods, ball possession versus small goals, how all that impacts not just the physical intensity, but also the player's technical skills and, crucially, their tactical decision-making. Yeah, and to find their answers, the researchers used a pretty rigorous method, a repeated measures design.
Okay, what does that involve?
Basically, over 4 consecutive weeks, they made sure every single player participated in each combination of field dimensions and scoring methods multiple times. This kind of rigorous approach really helped them minimize any potential, learning or fatigue effects that might muddy the results. Sequence effects, basically.
Gotcha. Very thorough. And who were the players they studied?
They recruited 36 regional-level male youth soccer players, all aged between 16 and 17 years.
Okay, so a specific group.
Yeah, and not just a random group either. They made sure these players were active, experienced with about 5 years of training on average, and importantly, free from injuries. This gave them a very consistent participant profile to work with.
Makes sense. And how did they measure everything? What tools did they use?
Well, they pulled out all the stops, really. Immediately after each session, each bout, they gauged how hard the players felt they worked using something called the Rating of Perceived Exertion, or RPE, the CR10 Borg scale.
Ah, yes, the RPE scale.
And they also continuously monitored heart rate using a polar team system. They tracked the average heart rate, HR mean, and critically, the percentage of time spent in the highest intensity zone, heart rate zone 5.
Zone 5, that's the real red zone, right? Like 90% max heart rate or more.
Exactly. That's when a player is really pushing their limits. And this maximal heart rate, the HR max, was individually assessed for each player beforehand using the yo-yo intermittent recovery test.
Okay, so very personalized data. And it wasn't just about the physical side, was it? They looked at the skills too.
Oh, absolutely. They meticulously analyzed every single technical action, things like successful and unsuccessful passes, receptions, dribbles, shots, all through detailed video analysis.
Wow, that sounds like a lot of coding.
It is, and to gauge their tactical smarts, they used a passing decision-making index.
Oh, what does that measure?
Think of it as a score for how often players made not just an accurate pass, but the right pass for the situation. You know, a truly intelligent play.
So quality over just completion.
Exactly. They really wanted to see the hard numbers on how those physical demands translated into actual on-field performance, both technical and tactical.
All right, so with all that meticulous setup, what did these researchers actually uncover on the pitch? The data must have started painting a pretty clear picture.
It certainly did, especially when we look at how the players' bodies reacted to these different game conditions. So let's call this insight #1. If you, as a coach, want to absolutely gas your players and push their aerobic fitness, ball possession games seem to be your secret weapon.
Really? More than goal-scoring games?
Yeah, they consistently spiked heart rates and kept players redlining in that highest intensity zone, zone 5, across every field size, much more than games focused on scoring goals.
Huh. Why is that?
Well, the thinking is that ball possession demands almost continuous physical engagement. It offers fewer natural breaks compared to small goal games where there might be more stoppages or changes of pace.
Okay, that makes sense. So if you want your team running hard, building that endurance, just get them chasing the ball and keeping it. What about the field size itself? Did that matter?
Oh, definitely. That brings us to insight #2. Even in the small goal games, just making the field bigger dramatically cranked up the heart rates.
Bigger field, harder work. Seems logical.
Right. That largest field, the 125 square meters per player, consistently led to higher cardiovascular demands compared to the smaller fields.
And the reason.
It's simply about the expanded distances. Players have to cover more ground, which leads to more continuous movement and effort. That naturally sends those heart rates soaring and keeps them in those high-intensity zones for longer periods.
Okay, so their bodies are working hard, the physical demands are clear depending on the setup. But what's the ripple effect on a player's actual gameplay? Does all that intensity, especially being in those high heart rate zones, actually show up in how well they pass or dribble or shoot?
Great question. And yes, it does. Insight #3 relates to technical performance. They found that ball possession games resulted in a significantly higher number of successful passes across all field sizes compared to the small goal games.
Okay, so possession drills are good for passing practice.
Seems so. But interestingly, they also saw more unsuccessful passes in possession games, especially on the larger fields.
Ah, so more attempts, but maybe lower accuracy under pressure or with more space?
Potentially. And on the flip side, small goal games resulted in more successful dribbles. And dribbling activity generally increased as the field size expanded, though unsuccessful dribbles also followed a similar pattern there too.
Okay, so maybe ball possession for passing volume, small goal formats for encouraging dribbling, especially as space increases. But what about their brains? How did all this physical exertion influence their decision-making, the tactical side?
Right, the cognitive element. This is insight #4 for tactical decision-making measured by that passing decision-making index we talked about.
Yeah.
They found it was significantly higher in ball possession games, specifically on the medium field, the 100 square meter one.
Oh, interesting. Not the biggest or smallest.
Exactly. But here's the kicker. Decision-making performance actually declined as the field size expanded to the largest one, 125 square meters.
So bigger isn't always better for smart decisions.
It seems not. And this decline isn't just attributed to the increased intensity, although that's part of it. It's also likely about the greater spatial demands and the increased complexity of decision-making on a larger field.
More options, more space, more fatigue, harder choices.
Precisely. Players faced more challenges in maintaining optimal passing decisions, probably because of the increased distance and the more dispersed positioning of both teammates and opponents. It's just harder to make the right decision when you're more spread out and likely more fatigued.
So the takeaway here is pretty stark then. It seems like when players get truly gassed, when their heart rates are spiking, it's almost like their brains are hitting a wall too. Their passes might get sloppier, maybe their shots less accurate, and their ability to make those smart split-second decisions on the field just goes downhill.
That's a good summary. And it leads into Insight #5, which is about the direct correlations they found. The study revealed a clear, often negative, link between physiological intensity and performance.
Okay, like what specifically?
Well, they observed a moderate negative correlation between the average heart rate and the number of successful shots, and another moderate negative correlation between the time spent up in heart rate zone 5 and that passing decision-making index.
So higher heart rate, fewer good shots, worse passing decisions.
Generally, yes. And there was also a strong positive correlation between time in that high heart rate zone 5 and unsuccessful shots.
More fatigue, more missed shots.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
It really suggests that as players experience greater physical strain, their technical performance and their decision-making quality tend to decline. This lines up with other research, too. Some previous studies showed players with higher heart rates tend to lose the ball significantly more often.
Right?
So it really reinforces this idea that higher physiological intensities can have a greater negative impact on technical and tactical performance, especially perhaps in developing players. It quantifies that mental fatigue driven by physical exertion is a very real thing, even for fit young athletes.
Fascinating. So the body's physical state truly does impact the mind's ability to execute skills and make good choices, even for these skilled youth athletes.
Absolutely. Now, while this study did have certain limitations, it focused only on youth male players, and it was conducted in a controlled lab-like environment, not a real match.
Sure, always context to consider.
Right. But even so, its practical implications for coaches and practitioners are incredibly significant.
So, okay, let's translate this. What does this all mean for you, the listener, maybe a coach, or even just an interested observer? These findings offer some really novel information, stuff that can help refine training methods and enhance player development. Coaches, you can use this information to design drills that truly balance that physiological intensity with technical and tactical development just by strategically manipulating field size and the scoring methods.
Exactly. For instance, let's give an actionable takeaway. Number 1, those ball possession games on the larger fields, the 100 and 125 square meters per player, they seem more appropriate for aerobic targeting training days.
Why specifically those?
Because they induce higher cardiovascular intensity, more time spent in that highest heart rate zone. But they also help improve passing skills, as we saw, so you get both physical and technical benefits.
Okay, so if you want your players to run hard and pass well, maybe structure those bigger possession games into your higher intensity days.
That's a great way to put it. And then actionable takeaway number 2. In contrast, the small goal games, especially on the smaller fields, like that 75 square meters per player, they generate lower cardiovascular load and intensity overall. This makes them potentially better suited for recovery days or maybe lower intensity technical days.
Okay.
And they're excellent for emphasizing dribbling and maybe decision-making within tighter spatial constraints because that's what the data suggested.
So tailoring the game type and size to the specific goal of the session, whether it's fitness, passing, dribbling, recovery, or decision-making under less intense physical load.
Precisely. It's about being strategic with those variables.
Okay, so in conclusion, though, this deep dive really highlights how both field size and the scoring method significantly influence players' physiological demands, their technical execution, and, importantly, their tactical decision-making during these small-sided games. It seems ball possession games in larger fields generally lead to higher physical intensity and more passing volume. But, crucially, this increased strain can negatively impact decision-making and maybe even shot accuracy.
Right, there's a trade-off.
While conversely, smaller fields and those small goal formats seem to encourage more frequent dribbling actions, perhaps with less overall physiological stress.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really underscores the importance of a truly nuanced approach to training design. It's not just about pushing players physically hard all the time.
Right, more isn't always more.
Exactly. It's about understanding how that physical load impacts their ability to think, to react, and to execute skills effectively on the field. That careful balancing act between physical demands and skill development, considering fatigue, is absolutely key for optimal performance. And this study gives coaches a fantastic, evidence-based roadmap for thinking about that balance.
Well, we've really only scratched the surface of this fascinating research today. For a complete understanding of the methodology, all the detailed results, we highly encourage you to read the full article yourselves. Again, it's titled, Higher Heart Rate Intensity Can Negatively Impact Tactical Decision-Making and Technical Accuracy in Small-Sided Games. A study on the effects of field size and scoring method manipulation by Qiao and colleagues, found in the Journal of Sports Science and Medicine. Thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive. If you enjoyed this exploration and you want more insights like this delivered straight to you, please make sure to follow our channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next deep dive.